is this for audio? You want audio? Minus. Yo, tell Liam to work some kind of Spanish anecdote into that. Russia, Colombia, Russia. All right. So they're gonna pull. I'm gonna go there. I got it.
First pull going up here in the U19 boys division in Lecco, Italy at the World Junior Ultimate Championships. We have Colombia coming out on defense versus Russia.
A little bit of poaching for Colombia to start, as Russia's coming out on offense in the red, Colombia in the blue and yellow.
There's a slight wind here on the field.
Ooh.
About 5 to 8 kilometers per hour. As Russia moves it down the field. Looking for the dump. High release, backhand to Remiga. Remiga finding Kudobin, one of the captains of this team.
Russia being patient near the end zone.
Right on the goal line now. And a blady throw laying out. That was actually quite an impressive layout by the captain, Kudobin, trying to keep his feet in, but so patient up until that last blady throw.
Kudobin was open. Did not need to be that type of throw. Just needed to see where the space was, and the thrower needed to deliver it. Colombia coming out in a split stack on defense. Lots of crowding so far for the Colombians.
Thinking about the long shot, but going against the wind is Colombia, so going to holster those throws for now.
Russia defense doing a good job of keeping Colombia moving it around near their own goal line.
And a long shot. Colombian offensive player wide open. And a layout to complete the play.
Just defense lost track of the wide receiver there. Player was going deep for Colombia, wide open. Russia doing a good job on defense, but that you can't let the receiver go free that cleanly. Leads to an easy score for Colombia.
So that was Camilo Andres Torres with the goal from Colombia. By the way, we are streaming live in Colombia for the first time. Sky Magazine and Telemedellín collaboration. So, quiero decir un saludo a todos los espectadores que están viendo desde Colombia. Gracias por su apoyo y vamos a seguir retransmitiendo el partido para ustedes. So Colombia coming in 1-0. Let's take a look at the replay of that last point.
I think it's better to cut it between.
Pretty easy huck. Again, they came in just wide open. Colombia delivered on it. And I thought Russia did a good job on defense, initially stifling the movement. We saw a set play off of the split stack for the Colombians. It didn't work out for them initially.
So
right here, wide
just
open.
So open.
Who's hot
It's
right
hard
now?
not to convert that one.
Are you on replay?
So Russia will look to gain back that defensive mistake.
They're gonna pull.
Colombia on the pull. Russia moving it up the field. Floaty disc. Colombia is there. Big sky.
Captain coming up with again.
Kudobin, he's been making some plays so far in this game.
We saw it in an earlier matchup.
Nice layout D from the Colombian defender. Even gives a high five right in the middle of the play. That was Julian Castro.
We just saw from the women's game we did last of the Colombian women's. They love to do the fast break on defense. And so far the Colombian men are doing a very fast-paced offense. Okay with dump swinging it a little bit more before taking a shot.
Colombia within striking distance now. Russia playing good defense, looking to get it off the line. Swinging it across the field. Fastest movement from Colombia. Montoya now with it. Montoya dumping, getting it back. 5 meters out now, and the righty backhand for the score. Colombia breaks 2-0.
Montoya has such an advantage from that position when he's able to go ahead, fake the around, and then quickly go with the flick to the right side. The defender can't do anything about it. He's already out of position. Montoya, great job moving the mark, creating that space from the cut-up line, and then that leads to the easy goal.
We're here in Lecco, Italy. The World Junior Ultimate Championships, as we take one more look at that last goal to send Colombia up 2-0. This is Liam Rosen and Brian Jones reporting live. As always, send us your tweets and comments about how we're doing. We want to hear any comments on Sky Magazine coverage, criticisms, compliments, whatever you have. You can reach Brian at no_look_scuba, and you can reach Liam at skied_Liam Rosen. Russia will wait to receive the pull. Pull is stopped. Picked back up.
Russia in the host stack. We haven't seen too many cutters be the main, except Kudobin, the captain.
That looks like a injury. There was just a collision between Colombian defender, landed right on his face. But Kudobin looks okay, looks to get back up. Both players now shaking hands.
Colombia challenging the handlers, forcing them upfield.
Lunev now with it. Lunev looking for Susian. Susian puts it up, but Colombia defender is there. Does the power slide for the D.
I think what we're seeing early is that Russia is running a very basic horizontal stack offense, and Colombia is reading exactly what Russia wants to do quite well.
And Huck throws too far. Receiver not able to catch up. So Russia will slowly walk back up to the disc and take their time on this one.
Wide open receiver, just didn't execute on the throw. We've seen this from some of the Colombian teams in the past. They love to use their athleticism.
Of course, we saw the Colombian women's team is Russia hucks right into the sack and throws it away. We saw the Colombian women's team in last game face off against Great Britain, under 19, winning 17-7. Very fun team to watch. Colombia looking for the up line. Easy score. That's Carlos Piralang to put Colombia up 3-0.
Just going by the eye test early on in this game, Colombia looks like the team that's going to have the advantage throughout. You can tell by the way they pivot and the way they're able to extend out and get the right angles. They weren't intimidated by Russia's physical play on the marks early on in this game. And so far, they've been able to deliver almost every single pass they've wanted for the 3-0 lead.
Russia will talk it over with their coach. Had a chance to speak to the Colombia U19 boys coaches before the game. They said they had about 200 players come out to try out for this team. Just speak to the depth of Colombian Ultimate. Most of the players are older, 18, 19. Only 2 players are repeating from the last Junior Worlds in Dublin. Youngest among them is 16, but again, most of them nearing the age limit. Colombia pulls off again, winning 3-0. Strong pull from Colombia.
Vertical stack look.
There's a poach on the handler. Colombia now adjusts. Russia having trouble getting the dump off. Finally do. And an overthrow leads to an early turnover.
You can call that an overthrow. I think we've got to give some credit to the Colombian defensive pressure there. It made it a throw that had to be perfect, and it just wasn't. Not a lot of space to fit that in a high stall situation.
Hawk from Colombia. Again, they have a receiver wide open. Miscommunication from Russia, and they've got to lock down on it. That's the second time we've seen the same play in this game. Colombia now up 4-0.
All Colombia so far in this one. Russia had an early chance at the end zone. They need to regroup now and try to gather what mental strength they have. Colombia playing their game plan to a T.
This is Colombia's second game of the day. They beat Australia handily in the round before this. So there's going to be a timeout, and both teams will talk it over. Pretty classic timeout from Russia. You like what they have going here. Got broken a number of times and really need to clean it up because Colombia, this is a team that will not give them anything. The coach now looking very animated.
Well, I think they need a bit of a wake-up call. I think there are times when you play up to your opponent, and right now Colombia should come out and throw in that first punch. Russia has to respond here early or this game's over. And just, we look at the replay, and this is the second or third consecutive huck that's been wide open in the end zone.
Both Russian defenders kind of looking at each other was like, your guy, my guy, your guy, my guy. But to no avail, Colombia up 4-0 here. Sky Magazine coverage of the World Junior Ultimate Championships in Lecco, Italy. So after the timeout, Mauricio Moore longtime Colombian juniors coach, ultimate organizer, giving the team some instructions before they take the field.
Colombian defense gets down there right away, putting pressure. Russia does not have a chance to get an easy one.
Nice inside break. That's going to be hucked deep right away. Nice looking huck, but too far for Kudobin to catch up to.
Kudobin streaking deep. Russia's just used to that play being a little bit easier. They feel the pressure. They need to put it up deep.
Colombia puts the disc back into play again. And an instant huck, and again, a receiver free. Pacheco now. Over to Lopez. Lopez backhand up the side and a layout to secure the goal from Juan Felipe Hoyos as Colombia goes up 5-0 in a game they look to blow out of the water.
Colombia's rocking and rolling right now, and I've been very impressed in general. The mistake that Russia's making is that it's a split stack with a forced backhand situation for a normal righty, and they don't expect the cutter to immediately bust deep. They don't play contained defense. I don't know that Russia's seen this formation very much, and to be honest, I'm impressed with Colombia and the way that they've been employing the split stack in both their men's and women's team. That's a sign of maturity as a program. You're using advanced strategies, and you're doing it well. Colombia came here to play, and so far, they've been showing that.
Some of the clinics that have been taking place in Colombia, both the Ultimate Peace clinics, the fact that elite players are coming down to Colombian tournaments. At Torneo Eterna Primavera this year, Sockeye came out, Double Wide came out, Scandal, some top women's teams and men's teams that certainly showed these players a thing or two.
It just seems like split stack is also the in vogue offense at this time in the Ultimate world. You see teams using it. You see Ulti-World analyzing every single team that's using it. Toronto, GOAT, and the club scene and Nationals of USA have been using it now for a couple of years. And we've seen other college teams start to employ it.
Short pull. Colombia will center right away. Kalugin. Looking for cuts, nothing there. Russia's stack is very far deep, but they're able to get the dump off. Remiga, back to Kalugin. Nice layout from Kudobin. And Kudobin back up to Lunev. Lunev, a floaty forehand huck. Kudobin is there, times the jump. What a sky. Kudobin with the hammer. Beautiful play. Kudobin was all over the place on that point. The captain of this Russian team.
Finding Kabrukiv in the end zone for the score. And without Kudobin, I'm not sure where the Russians would be right now. He's clearly ready to play and bringing the tenacity at every single point, regardless of what the score is.
So Russia happy to finally get a point on the board.
Cut to one for a moment.
5-1, Colombia leads.
I got the pull.
And just putting on a clinic so far in this game. If it wasn't for Kudobin, it would certainly be even worse at this point in time.
I want to point out something that happened right before that poll. You saw the Colombian team link arms and stand close together. This is something that has been done against me when playing against Colombian teams in the past. They use the fact that they feel like they all kind of look the same to foreigners and they're all around the same height
to cause confusion when you're picking your matches on defense, hoping that a couple people get confused on which players they're covering and can lead to an easy poach. Kind of a smart strategy.
Russia comes out with a poachy strategy with Khudobin deep. Looks like a very loose 3-3-1, very wide cup, just forcing Colombians to make a lot of throws. And it works out so far, giving Russia a short field.
Russia taking their time to set up their end zone set. It's like they run three handlers. They're isolating Khudobin. Finally get a cut from the middle of the stack. Vladimir Suzyan with the break for Russia. And I think that zone is something that they can continue to employ. It'll really break the rhythm of the game up that Colombia's put into place so far.
You have to slow this game down. Mentally, physically, whatever you have to do, Colombia has to feel uncomfortable in some way.
You see again that layout from Khudobin. We've been remarking on him. He's been all over the place for his Russian team.
But you have to break up this game, and you have to slow it down because Colombia was in a rhythm. They were comfortable. Anything you can do, even if that zone defense didn't accomplish a turnover in what they got, it still was the right call from Russia. You have to throw multiple defenses when teams are just scoring in 3 or 4 passes. And so far it's worked for Colombia, but if Russia can continue to stifle that movement, it might be possible for them to come back in this game. But that means Colombia is going to end up beating themselves.
Colombia will receive again, and we'll see if Russia will set up this zone.
We don't see quite the zone, but it's really more of a poachy defense, a 3-3-1 with 3 cutter defenders guarding the unders and 1 deep. And at times it looks like a very loose zone, just trying to make the Colombians throw a lot of passes.
As they do right there and get the drop, and that was almost a turf disc. Russia picks up short field and looks for the fast break. Khudobin playing conservative, looking for the dump. And cuts to the other side of the end zone for the high release flick. Russia with another break. So back into the game, 3 in a row. 5-3, Colombia still up.
Huge amount of kudos to Khudobin right now. The tenacity he showed down on his team, you've just brought this game, which was 5-0, back together to a point where now it's manageable. With a couple of breaks, Russia needs to keep going with that defense, but they need to have something ready because Colombia might figure it out. It looks like they may be taking a timeout on the field to do just that. And it's the great strategy. Again, you slow the game down. You make Colombia do something different. And I think Colombia, if anything, can make those throws because they've proven that they can do it with man defense and higher pressure. So what you did is you got them to think. And right now Colombia is probably in the huddle saying, if I was talking to them, we've got to not think, we've got to play our game, and we can get back on track here.
This is Liam Rosen again and Brian Jones from Skyd Magazine. We'll take a bit of a break here as we go into the timeout. Let the teams talk it over. We'll be back with more action from the U19 boys division after this. So we're back here in Lecco on Sky Magazine. Colombia up 5-3 on Russia. Russia has rattled off, Brian, 3 straight points in a row, using some of the zone defense to their benefit.
And you could call it a zone defense, and it's really a handler sag and more of a clam-style defense that we're seeing with a lot of man-to-man switching matchups downfield. And you can call that a zone. It can sometimes look like a zone, but really it's a lot of switching and a lot of sagging that just makes Colombia throw a lot of passes.
And a bobble in the dump leads to a shorter field for Colombia. So they're right outside of their own end zone now, using some very nice movement, though, to push it up the field.
Well, you see right now they already are showing quicker movement than they were before, and they're just go ahead and taking the yards that the clam is giving them.
This is beautiful disc movement from Colombia. If they can get it in here without a drop, let's see this. It's going to be a layout. And there's a call on the play. Looks like also an injured player down at the other end of the field. There's going to be some discussion also on the call. It looks like disc is going back. So, actually lucky for Colombia.
Travel called in the play just a little bit earlier, but we saw that quick movement and really disrupted the clam. You can slow down Colombia for so long. They have the technical skills and the ability to make multiple passes in a row. We saw that with high-pressure man defense, which means they were thinking too much, and you can see right now the adjustment they made, hit every single open pass as soon as possible. They've held it only for maybe stall 2 during this possession.
So Colombia moves it back, stuck on the sideline now, trying to get it off. Finds the dump, but a drop. Russia will pick back up. They've got an open man. He's going to huck right away to Kudobin. Who else? Another point for Russia. That's 4 in a row as they storm the field.
And just as I credit the Colombians for taking the first open pass, clearly still not ready to adjust. And Russia just has the momentum right now. It's incredible to think that this game was 5-0 and we were almost this close to proclaiming it over. If Russia's back in this game, it's been exciting, and Kudobin, regardless of how the rest of this game goes, has almost earned himself the MVP award.
That is the best thing about Ultimate, Brian. Anything can and will happen. Russia with 4 straight points in a row to bring it to 5-4, and we have a game in our hands. So Russian coach having a few words with his players.
I think the strategy is the same here for Russia in the sense that you want to get the disc going back between the handlers as much as possible. And whether you can do that with man-to-man defense or you can pressure the dumps to try to make as many of those around throws, that's going to be the strategy that's going to give you the most success. And right now, just the impressive thing about this Russian team is that they could have come in here and folded immediately. This is their second game of the day. It's been a really weird day with stoppages in the first game as much as possible. We've had 4 different stoppages. This game is going on time, but really it should have been a round later because of the delay. And they're back in it right now.
So Russia with a chance to tie it up if they can force Colombia to throw lots of passes. This is what we were calling for, Brian, in the last game with GB Women versus Colombia. Just make them throw a lot of passes. They're not turning over on hard shots. They're not turning over on sky balls. They're turning over on easy dump shots with drop discs and overthrown passes.
Kudobin goes for the roller pole, and he's going to be hanging out playing deep.
There's an isolation play, pole play by Colombia. Looks like the Russian player just got in the way, bodied out the Colombian receiver, Ivan Garcia Montoya. So Russia now with a chance to tie it up and the disc in their hands.
There's been an interesting thing over the past several years where teams have been preparing to play physical as a result often of the United States because they've heard of so many stories and be ready to go. And that's not really the case necessarily for sometimes with teams.
Russia throws it deep right away. That is going to be a hospital pass, ladies and gentlemen, as everyone on the field crowds up over that point. That will be a defense. And Colombia picks it up to start right away.
But you've seen teams be more accepting of physical play than I thought you would be at this tournament, especially for a juniors level. With so much focus on spirit of the game, it's very nice to see that these teams are okay with the bumps, the jostling that comes with that makes sometimes the game much more exciting for spectators.
And take note of this disc movement from Colombia right now. This is really something special. So many short passes. This reminds me a lot of how Sakai plays in the U.S. Club Series. Fast, quick, 5-yard gainers and putting it right into the zone, although we have a drop again on the very last throw. That's been their weakness so far. They're getting it into the zone, but once they get near the end zone or about to score, they're just turning it over in the last shot.
Garcia Montoya is going to be credited with a drop there.
Russia throws it away. Colombia with another chance. And they put it in.
And Garcia Montoya gets it back. Before, though, Garcia Montoya was going to be credited with a drop, but really that's got to be on the onus of the thrower. You put a bullet pass to the break side, Montoya could make the catch, but as a result, if that's a better throw with a little bit more touch on it, Garcia Montoya makes the first one, doesn't have to make the second one.
Throwing with touch, very important skill. A lot of players, especially younger players, they watch their idols play, they watch these more elite players play, and they think, I want to throw like that. I just need to throw as hard as possible. There's skill in being able to throw hard as possible. There's skill involved in being able to throw as far as possible. But the best throwers know how to throw at a speed in which their receivers can catch the disc. Throwing with touch. And that's something that these players, maybe playing for 4 or 5 years, still have to learn.
6-4, Colombia finally solves the Russian switchy defense, but not before Russia had a chance to get another break of their own.
So Colombia will pull again as we still have overcast skies here in Lecco. If you joined us for the first 2 games, we had a couple of delays, 2 lightning delays, 1 administrative paperwork-related delay. Some players on many different teams hadn't filled out their paperwork. As Russia now inbounds the pole and sets up their offense. A high throw, Susian comes down with it.
And this has been the weak point for Russia. Sometimes you can see teams who have made a bit of a comeback get back out of shape.
Lunev sees his captain, Kudobin, wide open. I'm sorry, that's not Kudobin, that's Divisenko. And kicking the ground, visibly frustrated at himself. That was an easy catch for him, but he thought about it too much.
You can see offenses get out of sync after a big comeback, and Colombia could convert. That could be the case here.
Hoyos with it. Hoyos swings it back, far side to Munoz Lopez. Colombia now far side looking for the up line. Bit of a floaty pass. It's brought down, though, by Lopez. Swung around, tipped by Russia, and batted down again.
Kalugin with just a great read on that swing pass. Impressive reaction.
And visibly frustrated with his teammate who didn't wait for him to get set up. Fast break too fast and just threw it right past him.
Sometimes that's a sign that your team shouldn't be running fast breaks. The point of fast break is to be able to run a little bit of jazz on the run and to create without having to go to standard structures.
And I actually think he wasn't looking to fast break. That's why he didn't catch. He could have easily caught the first pass. He batted it down instead, maybe saying, hey, guys, let's try to set up our offense. And they just went a bit too fast for him. Colombia almost throws into a poach, but Russia not able to get there.
May travel on the play. This one's coming back.
So players will return to their spots. A bit of discussion about where people were on the field. This disc will be checked in by Remiga on the mark.
underrated shit? Is that what you're saying? That'd be nice, but I think this is the last game for today, right?
Back out of halftime with Liam Rosen and Brian Jones here from Skyd Magazine. Our coverage of the World Junior Ultimate Championships available streaming now for free on skydmagazine.com. Russia now pulling on defense, down 9-7 to Colombia as nighttime nears. 6:45 p.m. local time here in Lecco, Italy.
Split stack for Colombia. Doesn't matter, though, as the poachy defense for Russia is back. Changing the force and forcing middle constantly causes a lot of swings to happen.
Colombia now near sideline to Lopez. Lopez playing dominator. Three handlers in very close quarters, and Colombia looks to have beaten this one as it's snagged out of the air by Garcia Montoya, and Colombia extends their lead to 10.
There's a misidentified switch midway through the point that causes Colombia to be able to go on that run. Kadubin pointing to his teammate, doesn't make the appropriate move in time. Colombia off to the races, makes it look easy.
Starting to cool down here in Lecco. For those of you just joining, it's been a interesting day weather-wise. We've had thunderstorms, we've had rain, we had the sun come out for a very brief moment. Now it's overcast again and cooling down as we approach the evening. Wind very, very still. Has not been a factor in this game. For those of you on Twitter, send us your comments. We're seeing people watching live on YouTube. Post your comments as well on the YouTube channel. We'll try to give you a shout out. I'm told that this game will be retransmitted later on Telemedellín. Entonces otra vez un saludo a todos los parceros colombianos que están viendo este partido. Espero que están disfrutando de este buen juego.
Liam showing off his Espanol. I can only say hola.
That's enough, Brian. That's enough. That's sufficient. As the pull goes up from Colombia.
Three handlers back, but a vertical stack for Russia.
Susyan sending it deep. That is a bullet huck. Can he track it down? A layout. But the disc does not die enough at the end. And that was one of those low hucks that Colombia likes to do as well. Russia, unfortunately, turns it over, and Colombia has the chance to go the other way.
Huck out in front. It's a chance you want if you're Russia. Just not well executed. This needed to be a little bit higher for the play to be made. Again, an isolation play for Colombia, but it ends up getting to a handler.
And there's a Colombian player down on the field holding his shin. That's Juan Carlos Guilede.
Who's live right now?
Coach is going to come out and check on him. And I'm not sure what happened there, Brian. Possibly a collision.
I think we all got it now.
He looks to be okay. Looks like he's getting up now.
Looking at the handler movement for Colombia leading up to this point, you see a lot of what can be called 7 or checkmark cuts. They consistently will go up line but then reverse direction at about 60 degrees. The handler now with the disc for Colombia was able to go upfield, and force the defender to commit to going upfield with him and just turn around 60 degrees to the backfield and be wide open for the throw.
So disc checked back in for Colombia. It's the around forehand break. Santiago Escobar in for one of the first times in this game. Castro now with it near far sideline. Castro going to jam it on the line. Not there, looking for a dump. Finally gets it out to Gomez. Near D from Russia, and that leaves a man poached. Again, Castro with it just outside. He's going to swing it around for the dump, but no one's there. Hammer is over the top, a short field hammer. It looks like there's a call on Castro. He'll have a discussion. Not sure if that was a stall.
Beforehand, Colombia is able to use the upline cuts to get towards the end zone. They had a great opportunity about midfield with an upline cut, and if only one deep cutter went, it would have been fantastic, but instead all 3 deep cutters went for Colombia. We didn't get a chance to see the huck opportunity, and now Colombia has to throw a few extra passes.
So continued discussion as to what that call was. Possibly some translation issues on the field here.
No problems with translation issues with you this weekend, Liam Rosen. Liam has been our travel guide throughout any situation with any international team. Both knowing 4 languages right now. Looking to add a 5th, maybe 6th.
Not happy with my Italian so far, but I'm trying to learn it. The disc is checked back in, a high throw, but it's saved for Colombia. And an around backhand into the goal. Colombia extends their lead to 4. And again, Brian is in danger of blowing this game out of the water.
Gut check time again for Russia. They've had the opportunities, but it's been the offense that has let them down most often. Their defense has been able to go on several runs, been able to keep this in the game, and just point by point eat away at this lead. It was 9-7. Before that, it was 5-0. And now Colombia, see if their defense can go ahead and give them a charge. We haven't seen Colombia's defense provide the pressure since that early part of the game. This is our last game of the day today. Tomorrow we will have more coverage, and then so on and so forth. We'll be doing the finals of the U19 as well as the U17. U17 finals on Friday of the European Championships. And the U19 on Saturday. We'll take Sunday off, go off on a few adventures, be back in a week for World Club Championships. As I think everybody's looking forward to.
And we'll hope, Brian, that those thunder and lightning storms stop so we can get you these games on time. As the pull goes up for Colombia, big inside-out backhand. Great pull, gives them beautiful field position. Is Muchevich and Susian working with it. Looks like possibly a foul. That's okay. It's going to be a self-check. Just making sure everyone's in position.
Really important right now that
Muchevich puts it up for Kudobin. Perfectly placed. A bit of a bladey huck.
Russia has to convert this point if they want to stay in this game.
Muchevich back with it again. Hard mark, big flick. Kudobin is there. He's going to sky and bring down the goal to keep Russia in the game with a point on the board. 11-8, Colombia still up.
And that's just Russian chemistry. Kudobin not moving, is in the stack. Throw it to him anyways. He's going to run up and get it. In Colombia, you have to expect the unexpected. You have to expect that they're going to throw whatever at any point in time. be on your toes and play as tight as possible.
And we've spoken about this earlier in the day, Brian, some of these juniors teams where players maybe don't have as much experience. A lot of teams with small player bases tend to rely on 2 or 3 guys, and those are the guys that are making the big plays. Kudobin has been all over the place in this game. Colombia so far doesn't have an answer for his height and athleticism. See the replay there as he brings the disc down easily amid Colombian defense. So Colombia starting their cheers again from the sideline, keeping those spirits high. Their women's team in the background cheering them on.
You say you enjoy these cheers. What are the Colombians often saying out there?
There's a lot of, well, my favorite is, of course, Colombia, sí, señor, which is basically Colombia, yes, sir. I think that has the potential to be the catchy cheer of the tournament for me. We'll have to see what the Japanese come up with. So Lopez working with it in the Colombian handler set. Flores over to Ramirez.
A lot of man defense here. Kudobin started off
threading the needle with a backhand IO. They got a height advantage in Russia. Susian has no trouble coming down with it. But an immediate drop. And a bit of a floaty throw gives Colombia position again. Kudobin will walk up, guarding Daniel Alejandro. Alejandro finding Colombia again. How many times, Brian, have we seen them score so easily on that back cone? That has been their hotspot.
This quick movement, and it's just threatening the entire Russian defense. You have to expect them to go break side with it. You're in a tough spot to defend them. They do have to do a better job of containing the up lines. They haven't been able to do that all game long, and that's been Colombia's MO. Get it up line, have the hook opportunity, or keep dishing it up line. And if it's still available, keep doing it. Colombia is taking all that they can handle against this Russian team. When it comes down to facing the contenders, Canada, Great Britain, Japan, U.S., they're going to stop those upline cuts. We'll then see the true test of the Colombians. Can they adjust when you take away what they do best? And it's going to have to rely on those quick movement that we talked about before, those 2-3 yard cuts that they throw regardless of whether or not it's really a big gainer. Those cuts allow them to open up different angles. They're able to provide great hucking opportunities, but they have to be able to execute on that.
So Mauricio Moore with a couple of last words for his players on the line. Russia waiting to receive the pull. And as Colombia has come out strong in the second half, Russia so far unable to close the 4-point gap. Long, high pull from Colombia. That's really going to sit out there.
Great opportunity for the defense.
Fielded by Kalugin. And this is a zone now from Colombia.
See, a 3 and a box. So a 3-person cup, very flat. 2 defenders guarding the undercutters and 2 defenders guarding the deeps.
That's coming up. Floaty throw, Colombia unable to get there. So not a bad look for the taller and possibly more explosive Russians. Threading through the cup now. Kudobin with it. Back to Kalugin. Kalugin pivoting. Finding Mojcevic.
Colombia is trying to make the Russians stay patient. So far, great job on offense through this possession.
Big throw goes up. They're looking for their man, but he mistimes it, does Kudobin. Goes up a bit early. I think he's claiming he was kicked as he went up. Will be a foul call. It looks like he's saying he was stomped as he went up for the disc. I think the decision here will be, would he, Brian, have had a shot at the disc had that not happened?
Depends when the contact was made. Don't know if we're going to get a good view of this one. Kudobin definitely came down funny, but the kick may have been after the disc had passed.
So So that will be contested, and disc will be coming back.
We'll see here on the replay.
Not sure if I saw any stomping, but it's hard to tell.
There was no stomping there. The disc was well passed before contact was made. Either way, he's going to stay with the Russians.
Mojcevic checks the disc back into play, and an immediate drop from Kalugin.
How do you say disc never lies in Spanish?
El disco no miente.
Colombians.
Big floaty forehand. This is going to be tough for the Colombians with two Russian defenders there. Kudobin, again, all over the place, gets the D. Mikhail Kudobin, the captain of this Russian team, has been undoubtedly the star, perhaps one of the more dominant players that we've seen out here in our live stream games today. Mojcevic walking the disc up. Going to have to deal with a Colombian, almost a double team, Brian. Look at this. Leaving that third handler poached.
The Russians have seemed very comfortable with it. Was not something I expected.
That almost looked like a semi-professional level poach, as there is going to be a call. Not sure if that was a travel or a stall.
They're not that. It's a good choice for a zone off the start of any possession, because you have two men, you're taking away the upfield pass, and you're forcing them to do something different. But right now the discussion's going on, and I'm not really sure, to be frank, of either if it's a double team call potentially, a travel, stall.
And it looks like Kudobin's coming in to serve as translator. Both sides continue to discuss.
Why would they check the disc?
Coach Moore helping out from the sideline as well. So Kudobin is returning. It looks like the disc is going to stay with Mojcevic.
Kudobin giving last-minute instructions. But back to this two-person cup, you could call it. And it's not really a cup, but it's just a poach in the lane, and it's forcing Russia to do something different. I think it can be very valuable. Right now, though, after the stoppage, you see that there's a wide-open cutter. Can they adjust to that? What will the Russians do?
Looks like a scooper over the top, and an immediate floaty huck is what the Russians will do, and they come down with it. There's now an open cutter, and they're just going to put it right to space. So Russia with a point off of that, and was not the best. When you have a height advantage, sometimes things just go your way.
That's what happened. Was the unexpected. They're not playing the structure. We can't emphasize this enough. They're playing towards put it to my best player and hope he makes a play. Put it to my best mismatch and hope he makes a play. There's no real structure or play setup other than we're going to throw it to this guy and it's going to happen.
So take another look at that disc, just the clear height advantage there, and then the backhand to space. So Russia staying in this, but is going to need a late run to put some pressure on Colombia.
And I think they're going to have their chances, Liam. They've generated turnovers. They've slowed the rhythm of this game down. The one thing is that the time cap is growing larger and larger here. As we look at our clock, we're at 91, 92 minutes. Not sure when we're going to be hitting cap, but it's definitely getting later in the game. A lot of teams getting dinner right now and gathering to watch the end of this one.
Colombia following the tradition of standing on the line, arms linked. Very hard to distinguish some of these Colombian players as they're all around the same height. As the pole goes up, going to come down aggressively, and Lopez will field it.
You see Russia trying to sag in the lanes, but now having to switch defenders downfield.
Active mark from Russia. Lopez does, though, get it off. Hoyos finding Ramirez on the near sideline. Ramirez sees Lopez up line. Great up line shot, and that could not have been easier for Colombia as Hoyos again gets free for one of his several goals in this game.
You know it's coming and you can't stop it. And Russia has not made the transition for the adjustments on those upline cuts this game, and that's what's costing them this right now. They've had the ability to slow the game down, and they've done that successfully. But Colombia has responded with a flurry of upline cuts and handler movement that creates a lot of space deep all of a sudden at the end of these possessions and wide open in the end zone. There needs to be a better effort than that defensively and a focus to stop what Colombia does well.
So Russia will walk back to the line as we see a replay of some of this last play. There was the upline shot to Lopez and the power position forehand to Hoyos.
These handler covers for Russia are just chasing the handlers around for Colombia, and it's not even close up the line. It's one thing when they're making great layouts, but those are clean catches, easy transitions to making the clean throw for the goal, no hesitation whatsoever. Russia's going to need to make the adjustment if they're going to win this game.
Colombia about to pull live here in our coverage. This is the last game of the day. SkyMagazine.com. Colombia versus Russia in the U19 boys division. This pull will just land right on the line. Russia will put it into play right away. Centering to Mojcevic.
Zone look from Colombia. Looks to be.
And Russia putting it deep right away. Colombian defender has position. Puts up the greatest, but no one there to receive it. So that will be a turnover. And Colombia picks it up and goes the other way.
Looked like a 2-3-2 zone from Colombia, showing a different look. Doesn't seem to matter much. Russia's going to put it deep regardless of what you do.
I think it's good, though. They're getting a bit of practice. This is one of their first games of the day. Second game, I believe, they beat Australia in their first game pretty handily, 17-7, I believe the score was. So trying to practice some of those defensive sets that they'll run. So Colombia continuing to move it down the field. Restrepo now passing it to Marin. Russia with a late layout and a forehand huck. Kudobin is there. He's made the plays all game. Can he make this one? And he does. Bodies out and forces the turnover. So Russia now with another chance. It looks like Colombia is setting up Brian in a zone. It's going to be their 1-3-2 and a high hammer from Russia. Mojcevic now with it.
Looks like they're actually employing a 2-2-2-1. And sometimes this is used with a forced middle, but really it's just a way to space out the field and leave a lot of switching opportunities open for the defender and hope that Russia throws into a poach. Russia has actually done pretty well at identifying the open person, and I've liked the Colombia man defense because you stay so close and wait for those unconventional throws. But right now, I guess you have somebody back deep to always make sure that if Kudobin is thrown to, which is almost 100% likelihood, that he's going to be able to get back there and contest the pass.
There's an injury on the field. Kevin Lopez Manrique was hurt. Doesn't look serious. Looks like maybe just a rolled ankle. He'll be replaced by Daniel Munoz Lopez in the handler position. Colombia, though, still on defense. Mujcevic to Ramiga. Ramiga boosting it deep. This is going to float. Kudobin makes another play, but it's hand blocked by Colombia. Fantastic awareness on that hand block, and they are off to the races. Kudobin adjusting it. Colombia turns it. And this is just a case of both teams with eyes wider than their flicks can travel. Looks like there will be possibly a call. Disc going all the way back to the other side of the field. I apologize. Disc will stay in the middle. Will stay in the hands of John Marin. So Marin, Lopez having a couple words with Marin about how to get the swing off. Marin marked by Kudobin.
Tomorrow we'll start bright and early, 9:30 a.m. Milan, 3:30 East Coast time. And if you want to stay up tonight till midnight, 12:30, we'll have games for you tomorrow.
So Kudobin checks the disc in, immediate swing to Lopez, and Lopez takes the timeout. So Colombia making strategic use of their timeouts as the game winds down. We're approaching the 100-minute mark on this game.
Photo on a timeout. Oh, they're responding. The Russians are responding. Cut back and forth. No more ultimate, guys. We dance it off. You should take a picture right now. This is competitivity, my friends. Who can cheer the best?
Colombia will check the disc back in after the timeout. A point with lots of emotion, lots of big plays, but also lots of turns. I think both teams playing a bit too fast for the pace in which they were previously playing this game.
Colombia with 4 handlers back, 3 cutters downfield, creating a lot of space for those cutters to roam.
So Colombia is now set. Russia will figure out how to set up this defense. Time is over. We just heard on the field.
Set up by the Russians. Kudobin is watching the disc. He might be going deep right away, but everybody else is playing man defense.
Lopez will check it in. Lopez with the inside-out forehand. This is going to float. 2 Russian defenders there. Kudobin, volleyball spike. Knocks the disc down, and Russia with another chance.
One they absolutely need to convert.
Russia gets an immediate upline with a bit of a poach by the Colombians, and will put it deep right away. They're looking for Kudobin again. Who else? I believe he was actually D'd from behind by his own player. And Russia needs to be a bit more patient. I think they've been throwing it up. I think it worked earlier in the game. It's stopping to work now. I would love to see them at least work it up to midfield before trying to use their big athletic receivers. There is an injury on the play. We have a player going off. That's number 2, Roman Gabrukovic. Another shot at that volleyball D by Kudobin.
The problem with playing these Huck and Hope styles is that it can work off for a half. You can make it work for a half, but modern teams are going to be able to adjust. And you just see 2 defenders in the area. Kudobin has made a lot of great catches. He's missed a couple. It's not a high percentage strategy, and that's why we see the Colombians with a 13-9 lead.
So disc checked back in. Colombia looking to get it off the line, and they do. Lopez now with it. Lopez into Flores. Flores inside out to Restrepo. Colombia still stuck on that far sideline. Getting it up line to Lopez. He's been great on those upline shots. There it is, the forehand to space. And Michael Flores comes down with the score. Colombia now up 14-9.
What did we talk about a point ago, Liam? Upline cuts leading to easy hucks. Has not been stopped by the Russians.
Oftentimes it's been Lopez, who's number 24 on your screen, coming up with those up lines, gaining a lot of meters.
On the replay, just wide open, even with 2 defenders giving chase for Russia.
And Colombia now, with time being over, within striking distance of the win.
And they can drive this game, put it home, get some rest, get some dinner. They can feel confident in what they've done, but this Colombian team needs to get better over the course of this tournament. They had a 5-0 lead, and part of mental strength is when you have that 5-0 lead is that you're able to extend this out and win the game and going away and limit the amount of points you have to play. Instead, you can't say that Colombia has had an easy game because Russia has made it more difficult. Colombia has sometimes been their own worst enemy with drop passes, and Russia has not necessarily forced them into any big pressure Ds. It's been a lot of self-inflicted wounds by this Colombian squad, which is why this game isn't already put away.
So Colombia looking for the break as the pole will land just out of bounds and be bricked by Russia. It looks like they're setting up with a spread stack of their own, Brian.
Just where is Kudobin? Because that's where it's likely to go to. I wouldn't be surprised to see him come under after going deep so many times and have him be the first huck opportunity. On the far side of the field, he looks like he's ready to go.
So disc checked in. And Huck goes up. But it's D'd by Colombia, and Colombian crowd going crazy. There is going to be a foul called by Divisenko. Claims he was elbowed in the back as he was going up.
Didn't see any contact in that initial look at it.
And I don't think he had good position on that. It looks like the call's going to be retracted. No, it is going to go back. So disc will go back.
Great defense by the Colombians. Read the play. Divisenko came underneath. Cut in a triangle fashion. We'll see here on the replay as we go back to the action.
Russia with another chance. Remiga now with the disc. Near layout D from Colombia. And near turnover from Susian, but it is saved by Kalugin. Kalugin back to Remiga. To Susian now with it, center of the field. Susian push pass back to Remiga. Remiga overthrows Susian, and that's a turnover. Colombia is streaking deep right away, looking for the fast break. And they have a wide open, deep cutter. Santiago Gonzalez Escobar on the fast break. Colombia come down with the point.
15-9, game all but over. Great effort by the Russians coming back in this game. We still have potentially a couple points to go. Actually, not sure if this one has just been capped. We will find out real quickly, actually.
I believe the game is over. Time was over on the last point, and Colombia scored. So it looks like this one is done. Both teams will line up and
either that or a timeout. It's going to be a timeout on the field. Colombia getting ready to try to take this game away. Russia trying to regroup.
And Colombia did not spend much time talking that one over. I apologize for that. That's why I thought the game was over, because they were celebrating. It looked like they were ready to finish this one up.
Don't worry, we'll get it right next time, Liam. We'll actually have everything down. Been a great crew so far, rolling with the punches today. We had to deal with a near flooding of our equipment as we went through, and you can see the coach for Colombia really getting fired up. Great grab in the end zone. And just experienced a lot of different seasons and a lot of different weather today, Liam. We had a little bit of heat, just barely. It's cooled down a lot. When we got here this weekend, it was hot and muggy. The weather has gone from windy to calm all day long. But this crew has rolled with the punches. We're happy to be here in Lecco, Italy. 2014 World Juniors Ultimate Championships. Be sure to log on to skymagazine.com. Cast your votes for the later games this week. We have some games that are to be determined. We want to know what you think. You can tweet at us at Sky Magazine. You can tweet at me, Brian Jones, at no_look_scuba. You can tweet at Liam Rosen at Sky_Liam Rosen.
So as we see some of the highlights from previous points as Russia looks to pull.
I mean, the highlights, Kudobin has been absolutely spectacular. Just incredible for this Russian squad. And then it's just been a lot of handler movement. It's been a team effort.
As we've learned today, Brian, from watching the other games, 2 or 3 players just aren't going to cut it. The teams that have walked away with the wins have been the deepest teams on the field. So Russia moves it in and throws the disc away right away. And Poso picks up. Poso with the around backhand, a layout score from Colombia. And that will do it, ladies and gentlemen.
Almost do it. We'll see. Still.
Score is now 16-9 Colombia.
Colombia with a great grab. It just, the receiver, this is thrown in space. You're trusting your receiver to go out and get it. And boy, sure he did. Russia previously called a timeout, and you can see just they were thinking a little bit too much instead of playing their game. And sometimes I don't like seeing those reactionary timeouts. And it looks like this game actually is over. We got it right this time, Liam.
So both teams will line up and shake hands. It was a game of two vastly different styles. As we mentioned, Russia played oftentimes without a style, putting up floaty hucks and deep shots to some of their more athletic receivers. Colombia relied on a lot of fast, quick disc movement. And as I've said in the previous points, the deeper team won the game overall. This is a very strong program. Colombia boys team got second place in the